Students are not always interested in the kind of debate that you want them to have. Students love debate. They love to argue with each other. Oh no, this is right, or so and so, and you can't believe what they said. Well, why? Why is an excellent question for you to start introducing into even some of the most mundane and seemingly benign drama that your students will probably bring up in your class. So why not try to put that energy toward actually having the students debate each other? This really fits into our obtain and communicate information, and then that's also going to be working into modeling, of which an outline is a model to example or give examples of what we want our students to see. Now I'm going to also, inside of the Google Drive folder that I'm going to share with you all, I have some videos that I would like for you to be able to take a look at of some students actually attempting debate in my class. These will just be some brief clips, but that would be something that you should be able to look at as well. So that'll just give you kind of an example of what that might appear to be. So one of the things that I like to do is to give my students, again, we always start with this claim, evidence, reasoning. What claims are you going to be making? What evidence are you going to be providing? And why do you think that this evidence backs up this claim? So I'm going to bring this down. So we can have more of the whiteboard. This is kind of how I put this out. And I'm going to do it in outline form just because I try to reinforce outlining with my students as frequently as possible. By the way, if you were not aware, speaking to my English teachers at my school, outlining isn't a standard that they must know until high school. However, every English teacher I've talked to in my building said, I wish my students knew how to outline. Well, if it backs up what we're doing, why not toss it in? It doesn't take long. So we're going to start off with this. So I'm going to say, if this is going to be our main idea, so here's a real fun one, is going to be, maybe we'll say something like, because I've always got students who come from different backgrounds in my class, I will have my students vote on alternative theories. So we always have to have at least one group of students who are going with what the state requires our students to know. So I'm going to say alternatives, views. What alternative views are there that you can bring up? Oftentimes these are political, some of them are social, some of them are a variety of different mythological or religious perspectives. That's fine. And we should be able to have intelligent conversations with our students so that we can display what we need our students to be able to move through. Because like what we talked about briefly in the last video, logical fallacies, there is an appeal to faith or an appeal to common belief, or there's an appeal to our anonymous authority. Anytime that a student uses logical fallacy, we should ding them and take points off because we're just going to be the moderators. So one that I like to use whenever I'm teaching 8th grade is going to be origins of the universe. Now, if this is the general topic, then we're going to need two differing sides of this. The first side is going to be the affirmative. So after I've indicated what this is, I like to start with A. You notice the outlining is going to kind of dip down and kind of tab in if you're on a computer. So A is going to be the affirmative side. So the affirmative has to be with what we're going to be teaching in class. So we're going to affirm the Big Bang. So the resolution would thus be something along the lines of, we, the affirmative side, hold firm to the resolution that, and you can look up all like forms of rules of debate and go in as deep as you want or as shallow as you want. I'm just going to kind of hit the highlights here. Is going to be, this is the affirmative. So just affirm. They're going to affirm Big Bang. All right. What is going to be one of the, if that's our main claim, if that's our thesis, now let's get some claims. And I try to have my students give me at least 3, but for the sake of simplicity, and I've got a short whiteboard here. I mean, you don't see me in person. I'm short, so this board is not very tall, which is great. My wife could reach it. When we look at this, I'm only going to give you 1 or 2 examples. So the next thing I might do is I might do 1. What's my first claim? Okay, I might look at something like, we would say redshift. Okay, redshift. And we could use the concept of redshift when we're looking about the Doppler effect on that. And again, I'm coming to you on this specific example from 8th grade. We could look at any number of them, okay? What about, we could come up with a debate concerning, what about bees? We could look at honeybee populations, okay? Bees are endangered, or they are now in danger in the U.S., but they're also an invasive species. So now you've got 2 sides, like should we protect the bees, should we not? Well, they're an invasive species, but no, wait, they're actually incredibly beneficial to our ecosystem because it's kind of evolved along with the bees over the last couple hundred years. So anyways, this is an example. So then we're going to come down to give me a piece of evidence to support that claim. Okay, well, I could say spectroscopes. And again, I'm being simple here. So spectroscopes give us how we actually know about the redshift is actually occurring, and then I might do some other kind of indicator or whatever here to say, all right, this is now going to be our, here's going to be where my research has led me. So this is going to be this article, activity, or anything that you're going to have. So notice, here's my outline. If that's going to be my affirmative, then this is what we need to do. So then I'm going to come back and we'll say, okay, maybe 2, here's another claim. Here's another piece of evidence. And then my reasoning or whatever my research has led us to. Then we're going to come down and we'll do, so if this is our main affirmation, this is all just for the opening statements. Then we're going to need to get down into the next part. After we have our opening statements, we're going to need to have our basic rebuttal. So if our second piece of information here, our rebuttal, is going to be they needed to listen and take notes and probably make their own outline of what the opposition, the opposing team, those alternative viewpoint, whatever the other group or groups have come up with, and they're going to directly rebut that based on the evidence that they've gathered themselves. Okay, this cannot be true because, and then that's where they're going to be getting into their additional pieces of information. So this just kind of gives you a general idea. Again, you're going to be able to see this in a lot more detail in my slideshow that I've got. And of course, if you've got any questions, feel free to email me. I'm happy to help you out with that. So why is it that we would use this? Well, 1, we've got our outlining tool. 2, this also gives students an opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge of the material without you having to read any long attempts at their form of like a dissertation or their lab report. Some of those can be very poorly written, and some are great. So if somebody can write really well, give that to the person who talks really well, and now both parties can interact with the material in a way that they can present it, and now they know why that big science question, why they even believe, don't believe, doesn't matter. What does the data say? And can they articulate their interpretation of the data based on the facts? So why structured debate? Well, Falil and Haney in 2011 research indicates that debate is a useful tool to facilitate verbal participation by students in classes where the subject matter is controversial. Science is controversial. It's constantly changing. We're gathering new data. We have to reevaluate our perspectives and our preconceived notions. We have to constantly attack our biases. And students come to our classrooms with some of those opposing viewpoints. It's not our goal to necessarily try to change what they believe, but they need to understand the information that we're bringing to the table. Also, we can look at Snyder and Schroeder in 2002 study says, too often the science classroom is seen as boring, passive, and irrelevant. Through the use of debate, science instruction better achieves the goal of imparting information and dispelling these stereotypes by showing students that scientific activity is vibrant, alive, accessible, and personally relevant. So, what are some of my students? What have they been saying? Here's some direct quotes. It helped me think deeper than I would have. Another one said, helped me better know how I learned in other subjects. Another one said, the debate helped me to work with others under pressure because I give them time constraints, which is really fun because when the buzzer goes off and they're still in the middle of talking, or if they kind of freeze and the buzzer hadn't gone off yet, they really start to feel that pressure, and they've really got to think through critically what they're going to say and the best way to say it. Here's a couple of warnings, though, from students. If you're going to implement this in the classroom, you need more time to prepare. So the more that you're already working on things like outlining, the more you're already working on research, the more you're already working in groups or attempting to do so with our physical distancing standards, the better that you'll be able to do. Research is hard, direct quote. Yeah, it is, because it actually requires you to do work. Another student said, debate's a little complex and unorganized at first. We hold 2 to 3 debates over the course of the year in my class, and the first one is generally a mess. Second or third one tends to be much better, and I start requiring students to kind of dress up so that when they get up and they present their information, it demonstrates their competence and their confidence a lot better. Hopefully this will be a beneficial tool for you. I hope that this is something that you'll be able to use regardless of your classroom status, and I also hope that it'll be something that you can really dig into those SEPs deeper with, because obtaining and communicating information is probably one of the ones that students struggle with most. I'd say right behind computational thinking, because math, and really math's just another language. If you look at it like trying to learn French, parlez-vous français? Ah oui. But they'll be able to get it a little bit more if you can kind of break it down like that. Hopefully that helps.